What's up, everybody? Good afternoon. Thank you guys for coming out. We appreciate it very much. The biggest, baddest fight card in UFC history, UFC 200. Who has the first question?
For Brock, please. Brock, obviously you've made the interesting decision to represent the nation of Canada this week. Curious kind of what went into your thought process there and how you made the decision to rep the Canadian flag.
Quite simple. I live there. So that's how simple it is.
I think people were wondering if maybe there was a political statement there. You've made some statements in the past. Is there any further motivation?
I won't get into that. We'll keep it simple.
Fair enough. Brock, you talked about coming back and your desire for competition. I wonder, how do you measure success here? I mean, does it have to be a victory to feel like you made the right choice and made the right steps here? Or can you go in and be competitive and feel like you accomplished what you want to accomplish?
Yeah, I don't think, obviously I'm here to win a fight, but it's fighting and anything can happen, but I'm prepared for whatever. I don't think it's going to define me. I'm just happy to be here. I really am. It's no bullshit. This is exciting. I'm on the card of UFC 200.
And just lastly for you, Brock, if I could, it's been clear that this is a one-off, but I do wonder, is there any part of you inside that thinks if I go in and I'm successful and I'm right back to where I was when I was champion, that maybe this could launch a little bit of a continued career?
Oh, this may be a teaser. I don't know. We'll see what happens. I have no idea. I never say never, We'll see.
Thanks, Brock. And then just quickly, if I could, I wanted to ask Frankie Edgar and Jose Aldo both, please. This is a championship fight, but of course the interim title's on the line. I wonder, and we'll start with Frankie, when you feel like a decision should have to be made regarding Conor McGregor and the 145-pound title. A lot of people seem to think that he's not coming back to the division. The UFC thus far has allowed him to hang on to the belt. When do you think something has to be done? Is it after UFC 200? Is it after UFC 202? When does this decision need to be made? And we'll start with Frankie.
I mean, obviously, the decision's not up to me, and I imagine after 202 they're going to have to decide. If he doesn't come back down then the title becomes vacant. Otherwise, he's got to defend it. I mean, it's pretty simple.
Para mim, essa luta já significa o próximo campeão. Acho que Conor McGregor, se ele tá ou não, eu acho que desses dois vencedores aqui que vai ser o campeão futuro.
I think that this fight is for the next champion, Conor McGregor or not. I think this fight will define the next champ.
Okay, guys, I got a question for Brock Lesnar. Brock, over here. Obviously, we saw you got your blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I'm just curious, when you look back at your grappling ability before, obviously you were a top-level wrestler to now where you've actually picked up a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu and now you're a blue belt. What do you see as the difference? Where do you see yourself now in your grappling ability compared to back when you finished out your career?
Well, obviously my goal is to be a 5th-degree black belt. To me, jiu-jitsu is fun. It's part of the game. Along with stand-up, you train in all disciplines. So, I mean, it was time for Caprito to, I guess, I never asked for it, nor do I don't really care if I have a belt or not. I guess not to be, to downgrade it or anything. I think it's just, it's a process it's just a label. And for me, it was an honor for Caprito to actually bring it up. And he said it's time for me to issue this to you. So I never thought twice about it.
Obviously, a lot of people know you because you're a great grappler, a great fighter, but obviously Mark's got the advantage in the striking. I'm just curious, did you continue to work on your striking after you finished your career with the UFC and while you were in the WWE? Did you keep training on your abilities? And how long have you been training in the striking, and who have you been training with, and how often would you do it?
Yeah, like when I left the sport, I love the sport, so I didn't want to. It's just been a part of me, so I never really left. I've worked with Pat Barry, Greg Nelson. Whenever it worked out for me to be able to hit mitts or to work on things, absolutely. And it wasn't like I just called all these people up. I've worked with them ever since I left the octagon.
For Daniel and Jon, appreciate it. Can you give me 2 qualities in each other that you guys appreciate in your opponents? Maybe start with Jon.
What's up? Qualities. He has a very punchable belly.
That's one.
He's a good competitor. He's a good fighter.
And Mark, for you, just a few thoughts on facing Brock in this thing.
Yeah, it's gonna be. I'm looking forward to it. I mean, it's been a while since Brock has fought, but you know, I'm always willing to play punch face with anyone.
Jon, this is for you. You've said that this fight with Daniel, if he loses, he pretty much fades out of the picture. If you lose this fight, where does that put you?
Well, I really don't envision losing this fight, but I'm also aware that this fight isn't a make or break my career type situation. You know, I'm 28 years old. I have just under maybe 10 years left to fight again me. A lot of the great champions and sports have taken L's before, but losing is really not in my psychology. I'm just aware that if it were to ever happen, my career isn't based off of one fight when I have so much more to go. Where in his situation at his age, and the fact that he lost to me once already, that, you know, another loss by me would really do some devastation to his legacy.
Hey, Brock, question for you. Can you explain your health status when you said you left because you weren't healthy? When did you start to feel better, and did you have any other procedures after you left the UFC and before you came back?
Well, I think it was like day 49 after I left. Like, I can't remember the exact hour. I feel fucking awesome. Why does it matter? I'm here.
Did it affect you at all in your wrestling career? Did you have any issues when you were wrestling before this?
My health is behind me. I'm sitting here at UFC 200 soaking it all in. I don't know. I feel great. It's good to be here. It's good to be back. There's nothing else to say. It's just, I'm here. I feel great. That's it.
Hey, DC, a question for you. How difficult is it now for you to listen to kind of Jon, talk about the wins over you and give you the little taunts? I know you said your attitude has changed, but to be sitting there next to him and listen to that, is that difficult for you?
Nah, not really. This is a game, like to him it's a game. This is no game to me. I'm not here to talk and gibber and jabber and argue like we've been doing before. I'm here to kick his ass on Saturday. So I'd rather show him than tell him again. I'm done. I'm done with all the talking and gibber and jabbering. I'm ready to fight. I can show him the things that we've done in the training better than I can actually say it to you guys out here.
And Jon, if I can ask you, on the conference call, Daniel made the point that you're the world's oldest 28-year-old man and that you're a middle-aged guy at 28 years old. Can you respond to that? And do you feel like you're toward the end of your career, or do you feel you're still ascending?
Well, yeah, DC said that because I used to be such a party animal that I burned my candle out on both ends, and I'm 28, but really I'm 40 or whatever. I think misery loves company. I think it's apparent right now. If you look at me and you look at him, you can tell he's having a heart weight cut. Look at his face. He's all drawn out looking. He just got over a knee injury. I feel fine. I'm not even sure if his knee's 100%. I doubt it. I'll test that on Saturday. But Yeah, I mean, I feel great. I mean, how can you convince someone that getting sober and living more healthy will make you older? I beat him in the prime of my partying. So we'll see. We'll see who's the 40-year-old on Saturday.
And Jon, you have had a string of decisions. When you won the title, you had a lot of finishes right away. Now you've had a string of decisions. What do you think the difference is between finishing a guy and just going the 5 rounds and getting your arm raised at the end in a decision?
Yeah, I definitely went through a spree where I was finishing everybody, some legends of the sport. And my last 4 fights have been by decision. You know, I don't like the fact that I'm going to decision a lot. I think it's just my maturity and martial arts. You know, I just play the game really smart, and I know that Open St. Preux was definitely the fight that I should have finished. And I'm going to try to make up for that one on Saturday by finishing DC. I really feel like I can do it.
Thank you, Jon. And Cain, if I could ask you a question. Cain, you're similar, I guess, to Brock in a way in that your health has cost you, the ability to hold the championship and cost you whatever. Where do you stand now, and do you feel like your body can hold up to not only the fights that you have, but how you push yourself in training and put yourself through so much in training? Can your body stand up to that much longer?
So, as far as in the past to what I've changed now, in the past, I would come into practice and just have the mentality of just going hard, and sometimes I wouldn't even stretch out, I'd be like, okay, I'm ready to go. I'm going to go in and just, bust my ass and get through a practice and get better. Now it's a lot more maintenance. It's a lot more getting warmed up really good right before practice and afterwards. And I feel like, with no injuries this whole camp, everything's been going good. It's helped out a lot. So I can see the longevity now, with me doing a lot more maintenance on my body before and after practice. And I mean, all I can say is it's helped me, so.
And then, Cain, if I could finish with one last question. I think, I look at DC and I think given what he did at heavyweight and what he done at light heavyweight, he's no worse than number 3 in the world, maybe number 2 behind Jon. So you might have number 1 and number 2 Saturday going at it. Given the wide decision that there was last time, what have you seen in training camp from DC that would lead you to believe he can cover that wide gap and beat Jon on Saturday night?
He's just improved, you know what I mean? He's a guy that got into the sport at a later age, but I've seen his improvement, more so on, and I've seen it in this camp also, It's a thing of when I'm there, when I'm healthy, when I'm able to push him, he's getting better. To get that hard push each and every practice, it gets you ready for whoever.
Brock, clearly you're excited to be back here in the UFC, and clearly the fans are excited to have you back. You know the relationship you have with Vince McMahon. If you go to him after a victory and say, hey, I'd like to do this occasionally a couple more times, will he allow you to do that? Can you do that?
I guess that's not a question for me. That's a question for Vince McMahon, right? So I don't know. We'll get through Saturday and see what happens. I have no idea.
Do you plan to do that with a victory? Ask for that.
After Saturday, I think I'm booked for August, so I don't know. We'll get through Saturday. We'll see what happens. I don't know.
Great. Miesha, for you, winning the belt certainly makes you feel like a champion, but a lot of champions will say that it's after they defend the belt that they really feel like it. Will you feel like that champion by beating Amanda, or will you still, knowing that Ronda and Holly are still out there wanting fights, how do you balance all that?
Truly, I want to beat all the best in the world, but Amanda's the first step in sealing that legacy. So right now my focus is on Saturday, on beating Amanda. I think that's going to solidify my spot as the champion, and then we'll go from there.
What do you like about the matchup against Amanda?
I just think I have more tenacity. I have more heart, more determination to be here and to stay here, than she does. She has a tendency to break in fights, and I have a tendency to break people in fights. So I think it's a good matchup.
Amanda, did you feel like you did enough in the last fight to deserve the title, and what do you plan to do to beat Miesha in this one?
Yeah, I think 3 in a row, you know, and I did my work, I win the fight, and I deserve the title shot. And Saturday night, you guys are gonna see a new champion.
You obviously follow the division as closely as anyone. Is Miesha the best fighter in the division by your definition?
Yeah, I'm gonna fight the champion. Miesha is the best in the line right now, and I'm gonna beat her.
Great, thank you guys.
This is for Jon and Brock. Both of you fought at UFC 100. I was wondering if there was a story or a memory from that night that each of you had, and as you see the growth of the sport, that was a big night, but this is even bigger. Your thoughts on how much the sport's grown to get to UFC 200?
I remember UFC 100. I fought Jake O'Brien, and I remember being so nervous because I felt like I had a new expectation, where before I was so new, I had no expectations. And then I had beat Stephan Bonner, and everyone was like, let's see if this kid can do that again. So I just remember feeling really nervous going into that fight, really trying to outperform myself. And I also had a chip on my shoulder because Jake O'Brien got to wrestle for Purdue. He went Division I, and I didn't go Division I. I always wanted to. That was my first challenge when it came to a wrestler, being able to out-wrestle a wrestler who did so much more than me during their collegiate career. And sure enough, I stopped all of Jake O'Brien's takedowns and ended up submitting him in a front headlock position. So I was just really proud of that, and I just remember the magnitude of the card. And now to be here headlining 200 is just such a great honor, and I'm going to do my best with this opportunity.
Brock, your memories of 100?
I got lots of memories, but I guess the one that sticks out the most is solidifying my heavyweight championship, avenging the loss against Frank Mir, being very excited to get my hand raised at the end, and saying some things that are very memorable.
What kind of beer did you drink that night, just for the record? Go ahead.
I actually had 2 different kinds that night. One for the public to see and one for me to enjoy.
And
stop asking him questions.
Both of your thoughts on how much the sport's grown from 100 to 200. 100 felt like such a huge deal, but this is even bigger, just how far it's come in a few years.
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think the credit goes to a lot of the credit goes to the fighters, and I think Dana would agree that without his stable of fighters and his backbone with the Fertittas, this company wouldn't be where it is today, and I think none of you sitting out there can disagree with that. So without the fighters, the UFC would be nothing, and without a promoter like Dana, I mean, it's came a long ways. Obviously, I mean, just look where we're at. We're getting covered by ESPN. We're all over the world now. So I mean, it's pretty plain and simple. I think everybody's done a good job.
For Miesha and Amanda, both of you, did you watch UFC 100? And at the time, it would be almost impossible to envision that you'd be here fighting on 200. What are your thoughts on if you watched and just being here?
Yeah, of course I watched UFC 100. It was a great night of fights, and I just remember thinking then that my dream was to get there one day. So today is that day, and it's been that day for a few years. So UFC 200 is going to be, I mean, it's huge. It's anticipated to be the biggest fight card in UFC history, and I think it's amazing that the UFC has given the women the opportunity to have such a strong presence on this card. And I want to go out there and defend my belt in the fiercest way possible to prove exactly why we deserve to be right where we are.
Question for Cain, if I could ask in Spanish, please. Cain, te has sentido muy bien en este campamento, estás cerca del cinturón, pero regresando a Las Vegas, ¿cómo se siente tener el apoyo de tanta gente aquí cuando estás hablando?
Pues no, todo el tiempo.
Cain, what did he ask? You can do the translation on this one.
After the injuries and being recovered, how does it feel to come back and have so many support of so many Latin fans in the US?
Thank you.
Pues todo el tiempo orgulloso, sí, que pues a tener mucha gente detrás de mí. Yo nomás, pues igual quiero pelear y ganar para la gente, hacer un buen ejemplo todo el tiempo y pues feliz para regresar otra vez a pelear en este gran cartelera que es UFC 200 y pues ese que contra Travis Browne es un peleador pues muy peligroso, se mueve bien, pero estoy listo para ganar esta pelea para todos.
He's happy to be back, happy to be in a huge event like UFC 200. I know that Travis Browne is a very difficult fight and he's excited for the fight on Saturday. And just for Daniel, we know of the brotherhood between you and Cain. How much did it mean to be able to train with Cain for UFC 200?
I have to have him. You know, anytime. I've had a lot of success in this sport, and you know, obviously Cain's injuries have been well documented, and I've had success still. But when you're fighting someone like Jones, you've got to have your best training partner. You've got to be pushed day to day. You have to be working at a level that you haven't really worked at before. So having Cain there, where there are very few days where I actually get to win, you know, and it helps me deal with adversity. It helps me raise my level of intensity. It just does everything. It actually means the world to me to have him in preparation for this fight.
Question for Jon, over here, straight ahead. Take one.
Give it up for Hawani, ladies and gentlemen. Area Hawani, the one and only.
Obviously, this rematch is still sort of closely tied to what happened last year to you. Do you feel like you can only really get over that incident once this fight is over? Like finishing this fight officially closes that chapter in your life?
Yes, that's totally how I feel, yeah. Had a long year, really long year. Court cases and lawsuits and just a whole bunch of stuff, you know? Yeah, forget about it, right? I think a big part of me forgetting about it and being able to move forward in my life is by redeeming myself completely, doing the right things in the future. But getting this belt back is a huge part of that, and that's what I'm going to do.
And a question for Daniel. After the conference call last week, do you get the impression that Jon thinks that he's in your head, perhaps more so than going into the first fight? And if so, how would you respond to someone who thinks that he's in your head?
You know, obviously, I think about him daily. I'm about to fight him, obviously, so he is in my head in that aspect. But, man, if you spent a day in my life and all the joking and the manipulating and all this other stuff, you would know that this guy doesn't have the ability to actually get in my head as he thinks. But it's good. He's in my head because we're fighting, but the ability to manipulate me is not, that's not real at all.
Okay, and just a couple for Brock. Good to see you again, Brock. Right over here. It has been almost 6 years, actually 5.5 years, I believe, since you were last here. Did you have a moment yesterday when you checked in and looked around and maybe smelled the roses and said, well, I can't believe I'm actually here again? Is it somewhat surreal? Because I remember in the ESPN interview last year, you essentially said that you weren't going to fight again. So did you have a moment where you were almost taken aback that you actually made it all the way back here?
Yeah, actually, when I flew in, I've been taking it all in, you know, because in years past, you kind of just, I took it for granted. Not only take it for granted, but I wasn't mentally in the right place. So, yeah, 100%. I'm really happy to walk in and check in. Everything. It boils down to everything, even flying into Vegas. I've flown into Vegas before and past when I retired, and just had that same feeling of, you know, this city's been great to me, and so yeah, 100%.
And then two last quick ones. Eddie Alvarez said recently that he sparred 150 rounds for his title fight tomorrow. This all came together rather quickly for you. How many rounds did you spar for this fight?
I don't think Brock's going to answer you.
Okay. All right. That was free.
Was that, what did you say?
I was wondering how many rounds you were able to spar for this fight because
3,000.
Okay.
3,000.
That's impressive. Thank you, bro.
Hey. Oh, there. I got a question for Dana. Dana, you got 5 titles on the line during the week. And we've seen since last year that champions have a hard time keeping the belts. Is it good for the UFC business to have so many champions over a short time?
Is it good for the business to have so many champions fighting this weekend?
Yeah. No, for so many champions during a short time. No, the belts changing hands every now and then.
Oh, well, you know, you can't control that. That is what it is. Obviously, when you have somebody who's very dominant and holds a title for a long time, you know, they become, you know, it's a must-see when they defend the belt. But it's one of those things you can't control. It is what it is. But I think no matter how many times the titles have changed hands, you know, this is obviously a big event and a lot of big events this weekend, and people are excited. I mean, the Joanna Jędrzejczyk and Claudia Gadelha fight's going to be ridiculous. And obviously all the other fights that we have this weekend. So it's all good.
Okay, very good. And I got a question for Miesha. Miesha, now that you're champion, do you prepare fights differently? Do you have more pressure?
The only thing that I could say that I did differently to prepare for this fight is working with a new sports doctor that really got all my nutrition and everything on point, and working with a hypnotherapist. So my sports doctor is Dr. Jonathan Edwards. My hypnotherapist was a mental coach, Mark Savard. And that's really the only thing I did different. I feel like physically we all prepare really, really hard, but you know, what are we doing mentally? Everyone says that the fight is 90% mental, 90% mental, 10% physical. So, you know, I just wanted to strengthen a strength of mine, and that's really the only thing that I could say that I did differently. Otherwise, the training was just as good as it always is.
Okay, thanks. Last question for Travis. Travis, do you feel with the win against Velasquez, you're in top spot to challenge for the belt?
Yes, sir. He's, you know, I've said that this is my championship fight. You know, I feel like he's the toughest matchup for me in the division. So, yes, I believe I get a shot after this fight.
Okay, thanks.
We'll take one more question.
First for Amanda. Miesha's been saying a lot in the lead up to this fight that you mentally break and all that. What would your response to that be?
I think it's not true. I think, let me see. Alex David, can you help me? I don't understand the question. Can you help me, please?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Can you do it again?
The question was, a pergunta foi se você acha que você quebra mentalmente, que a Miesha tem dito que você quebra mentalmente durante as lutas.
It's not true. You know, I'm going to show everybody. I'm going to take this belt and wait for Saturday, and then we see if it's true or not.
And then last one for you, Dana. UFC 100, you did $100,000 fight night bonuses. At UFC 129, you did $129,000 fight night bonuses. Are you going to do $200,000 fight night bonuses for this event?
Bonuses are the same. No, these people are making a lot of money now, man. No. I'm knocking them down to $25,000 for this fight. Thank you guys very much for coming. We appreciate it. I'll square these guys off.